All right, you're watching the One and Done Show. I'm Rob. Marcus Fuller is here, and so is Emperor Palpatine. That's Ryan James. So we gave it a shot on Twitter. This is our second crack at it on Zoom, believe it or not. And Ryan's doing this bit for the second time. It's even better than the first.
I want him to do that the whole show, if he can.
So we were inspired by the top 10 list.
It's brighter in here.
It is brighter. It's way brighter when your hood is off. It's like the whole room fills up with light and joy. We've been thinking about
Iron Man flying too. That's what I want to know. What
some Mount Rushmores.
Keep going.
And now we're going to give them to you. We've got some top 10 lists, of course, some NBA lists because we want to respond to ESPN's top 100 or top 10 or whatever they did. But we also want to talk about Gophers. We want to talk. We're a Minnesota basketball show, so let's start it off with a Gophers Mount Rushmore. When we initially talked about this, we had talked about doing Gophers who had careers in the NBA because it was sort of timely, I guess. There's going to be some guys who are making the transition. Is that what we're doing, or are we just doing a straight Gopher Mount Rushmore?
Gopher basketball Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Mine probably wouldn't change much either way.
We haven't had anybody drafted since 2004, so
yeah, it probably won't be a most recent list.
No,
but
although I love those guys. Don't get me wrong.
You had to throw that in there. Sorry, guys, we don't mean to offend you. Anyway, my Gopher Mount Rushmore for basketball. For me, it kind of takes the three best groups that they've had in modern era Gopher basketball. I can't speak to the 50s and early 60s and late 60s either, but I can say the best team in the Gopher basketball history, the Final Four team. And that team, best player, Bobby Jackson. Bobby Jackson's number one. Number two, you go back, the second best run in Gopher history, the Elite Eight run. Who is that? Willie Burton. So Willie Burton is number two on that list. Bobby, Willie. Number three, who's the one first-team consensus All-American in Gopher history, considered the best Gopher of all time basketball-wise? Michael Thompson, number three. And four, who is the greatest Minnesota basketball player ever from, if you took it from all the way to the top.
What exactly is that? I don't know. You're going from the womb?
Yes. That'd be Kevin McHale. So that's the four. Bobby Jackson, Willie Burton, Michael Thompson, Kevin McHale. That's the four.
I like that list. So is that a ranking?
Oh, if I had to go a ranking, it would be Thompson, McHale, Willie, and Bobby.
Nice. Well, I didn't do a ranking per se. And I'm kind of going off the list that we made with the Star Tribune before the Final Four last year.
Which was dog trash, by the way.
because it didn't have Sam on there?
Like, every Gopher fan just watched us go through all those games again, and they're like, really? This guy isn't on the list?
Did you look at that list again?
Unless you changed it, no. Unless you added one name, no.
What is dog trash, by the way?
Well, let me give you my Mount Rushmore, and then I'll actually go over that list again because I happen to have it. Well, pretty clear that Mount Rushmore. I agree with three of those. Bobby Jackson. I agree with Michael Thompson. I agree with Willie Burton. And for me, I don't want to sound like I'm dissing Kevin McHale at all because we had a Minnesota Icon happy hour this week where we had to pick the all-time greats in Minnesota. Well, there are more icons than athletes, but we stuck with athletes. And I voted for Kevin McHale in the second round, and I thought that was a steal. But that was more for his overall impact, like Ryan was saying, from high school, maybe the greatest high school player ever. And then obviously you have to put into account his NBA career.
I don't think Kevin McHale high school career wasn't totally amazing, just like his Gopher career. He was top notch, but then he took off when he got to the Celtics.
He was a pretty high-end recruit for the Gophers at that time. And I think that if you count the NBA career, if you count, one of the best high school players of all time, and then obviously what he did for the Gophers, you need Kevin McHale on that list. But for me, I'm taking out the high school side. I'm taking out, I mean, come on, you can't compare to what he accomplished in his NBA career. Anyone in the Gophers can maybe Trent Tucker won a championship, right? But you just can't compare to that. So I'm putting Lou Hudson on the list only because, yes, okay, he didn't win a championship with the Gophers, but I just did an article about Archie Clark, Lou Hudson, and Don Yates being the first Black scholarship players, basketball players at the University of Minnesota. And you could say, okay, these guys are pioneers with that alone. But then you single out, I did a story on Archie Clark because he's still with us, and he living in Michigan. He's a great guy, had a lot of good, memories about that team and about those players that he shared with me. And Archie had a pretty cool NBA career too. We'll talk about that later. But for Lou Hudson, anyone that talks about him, having watched him, and I obviously, I dyed my goatee today, so I look about 10 years younger. If I didn't dye this, you'd be saying, "Hey, did you play with Lou back in the day?"
All those Walt Frazier Just for Men commercials finally got you. Him and Kiefer place, and they got.
That's right. That is Walt Frazier on there. No, I Lou Hudson, to me, he wasn't only a pioneer, but he also was probably one of the most loved Gophers for that generation. Guys that are still coming to Gopher games, but also remember like that era of, hey, we remember the football players like Bobby Bell, Carl Eller, Sandy Stevens that came in for football, and they took Murray Wormath's teams to Rose Bowls and championships. But right after that was Lou Hudson, and all of a sudden the Gophers were number 2 in the Big Ten behind Michigan, and Cassie Russell was a All-American superstar in college basketball, and the second best team in the Big Ten at that time were the Gophers, with Lou Hudson, Archie Clark, Don Yates. There's some good players I'm not mentioning on those teams, but I just think that I forgot how good those Gopher teams were those 2 years that Archie Clark, Don Yates, and Lou Hudson played together. They were number 3 in the Big Ten in their sophomore year, which back then they could not play as freshmen. So their sophomore year was their first year.
You're not going to get too many Gopher fans disagree with you that have gone back and know Lou Hudson. I mean, you've seen all the practices I was at Williams Arena. You always saw his banner up there. It's a good pick to go with.
And to my point, which I made in the last attempt at recording this show, is that the Mount Rushmore really shouldn't be the top 4 guys. It should be old guys. It should be guys from a long time ago.
Influential. Well, you're talking about more recent guys, yeah. Yeah,
it doesn't, like Bobby Jackson for sure is on my list, but he probably shouldn't be if we're looking at a Mount Rushmore. You know what I mean? Like Mount Rushmore.
I don't know.
These are precursors. These are
Rob,
guys
I'm feeling very old these days, and Bobby's older than me. So I think the South Dakota Stonebreakers can get going on Bobby. It's okay.
All right, fair enough.
Let's put it this way: if the Final Four banners were still up, I think Bobby Jackson might have his jersey retired.
Man.
Hey, there's rumors that I have the Final Four banner in that closet over there. That's not true. I don't know where it is. Nobody knows where that thing is.
I think in these times, somebody probably sold it.
Probably.
So,
I think it's probably in someone's garage hanging.
Where do we want to go next? Do we want to stick with the Gophers, or do we want to move to the Wolves?
Let's move to the Wolves. I think
I wanted to do my favorite Gophers.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Well, the favorite Gophers for me, and this is a little bit of a shout out type thing. Like, how can you have a favorite Gopher? Agree with me here. If you had Gopher basketball players in your wedding, should they probably be on your favorite Gopher list?
Yes.
No, family members excluded. Family members excluded.
Okay. Well, I got 4 of them in my wedding. So that'd be Sam Jacobson, Mitch Onset, John Awney, and Dusty Reichert. So those got to be my 4, because if you have them in your wedding, you can't necessarily not have them on
like I said, exclude family members. Let's just say that we know that you love those guys and you consider them your favorites, but let's exclude family members.
Okay, so if I got to go my favorites, you almost have to take if you're telling me I can't do, I got to take my personal feelings out. That means it's before. So like, I'm not prepared for this, but like my favorite ones that I grew up watching would have been Randy Carter, Ariel McDonald, Willie Burton, and Richard Coffey. But I also got to throw Jim Shikenjansky in there. My dad loved Jim Shikenjansky.
I never watched those teams. And I actually, I got to go with, since I'm not a family member, Bobby Jackson, Sam Jacobson, those are my two favorite players. You can imagine a guy growing up in Hawaii as a big Gopher fan. Well, I was, because I love Clem Haskins' teams, and that season just captured me. I actually had I was walking around in my binder with like Gophers pictures that I had printed out of like Sam Jacobson and Bobby Jackson. I love those guys.
That's kind of amazing for you. And I'll bet you Slam probably influenced that, because Sam was in Slam a lot. I've been going through a lot of these old magazines out of boredom, and Sam was through that. Hey, and by the way, I just got a message from Jim Shikenjansky and that wants to jump into a Where Are They Now interview that we're going to do. So, hey, good timing on Jim Shikenjansky messaging me back.
Yeah, all right.
So look for that on Gopher Illustrated amongst our Where Are They Now
stories. Those Where Are They Now stories are pretty good. I did that with the Final Four team a few years ago, 20 years later. But did I list I list three guys? Yeah, no, I list two. I had Bobby Jackson, Sam Jacobson, and then I'm gonna try to exclude players that I covered, because I love a lot of those guys and well,
if I can't include people I know, then you can't include people you like.
That I covered. No, yeah. So excluding players that I covered, I'm gonna definitely I got to go at Willie Burton. I didn't obviously see him play. I wasn't in Minnesota at the time. I didn't see him playing with the Gophers, but I did see him play in the NBA, and he actually was one of my guys, and so was Vashawn Leonard. Like, those two guys, I remember them playing in the NBA, and I did, know that they played for the Gophers. I didn't see them play for the Gophers, but actually, did I just name five guys?
I think you might have named five guys.
It's okay. It's okay. Crazy Horse is still being put together out at Mount Rushmore, so you can have five. I don't know where they're at on that, by the way. That thing's been put together for 40 years. Can we do managers? Gopher manager Mount Rushmore? Nico Medved, Colorado State head coach. Tom Ostrom's at Indiana. Like, our manager.
And you can't vote for you.
Amazing.
Would you be on that list?
I wouldn't vote for me. I was a terrible manager. Terrible. My head was in the clouds. Like how Marcus is paying attention and looking away right now. That was me during practice. So no, I could not vote for myself.
Hey, my kids just brought me some French fries, so I'm good.
Oh yeah, you got
my kids don't do anything.
Yeah, right. No, I think that Rob, you probably let's see, I'm trying to think of Lakers that go for Lakers.
Oh,
Michael Thompson.
Yeah, you got Michael
Thompson. Archie Clark actually played for the Lakers. He was drafted by them. His rookie year. This is a good trivia for you as a Laker fan. His rookie year, he led the Lakers in scoring in the playoffs. After Jerry West was injured, he averaged 25 points a game.
What year was that?
1960. You're testing me here. I think it was 1967.
Wow.
Or 66, 67 season, because he was drafted in 66. Lou Hudson and him were both seniors in 1966. He was drafted in the fourth round by the Lakers, and he ended up
scoring in the playoffs.
In the playoffs, so he started off like as an afterthought because it was a fourth round pick. By December, he told me he was starting for the Lakers alongside Jerry West and Elgin Baylor, and then in the playoffs, West got injured and they lost before they got to the conference finals. But he led the team in scoring as a rookie. And then the second year, he was an all-star with the Lakers.
Really?
And then he was traded for who?
That was a good history lesson.
Will Chamberlain.
Wow. That's wild.
Oh wow, that's even better.
He was in the Will trade. Wow.
He was in the Will trade. He was the all-star in the Will trade.
Wow.
In 1968.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
So that's good. Like the 60s. That's when we had Minneapolis Lakers had lost them. And now we got the Minnesota Timberwolves back in 1989-90. And with that, I want to give you some Timberwolves names from 89-90. We're probably not going to talk about many of these names because they're not good, but these are the names that like I grew up with. The old Hoops cards. Remember those NBA Hoops cards? The first program. Oh, and when they did the tours around the state, like Michael Williams, Scotty Brooks I remember them coming to our school.
Scotty Brooks.
Scotty Brooks, yes, I remember Scotty Brooks at Austin
Your
Chili.
head coach
We were doing
later
a
on.
workout with him. It would be 91, maybe 92 summer. I went with Sam Jacobson we went to a Wolves camp. Sam was 8th grade at that time. And to make this real short, it was Scott Roth. Scott Roth, if you remember him, was at the camp. And Scott played Sam one-on-one. And, like, you could see Scott Roth was just, like, messing around. And then Sam went by him, like, twice. And the guy's like, oh, Christ, I got to try to play this
Sam
guy.
don't mess around.
And then they were playing. That's all I'll ever forget. Like, these names. Tyrone Corbin, Tony Campbell, Drew Richardson, Todd Murphy, Sam Mitchell, Randy Brewer, Sidney Lowe, Brad Lohaus, Scott Roth. By the way, Scott Roth averaged 6.8 points a game. I would have guessed 0.6. Donald Royal, Adrian Branch, Brad Sellers, Doug West.
How many years did Brewer play with the Wolves?
Say that again?
How many years did Randy Brewer play with the Wolves? I forgot.
I will be able to give that to you
Yeah.
as soon as I think about it. He played 2 years he played 3 years with the Wolves.
Interesting.
Yeah, he averaged 10.2 points a game actually
I was
one
gonna
year.
say he could actually be on that Mount Rushmore. Did he make the minimum for you? Number of seasons?
No, and so that's a good transition. Like if you're talking Minnesota Timberwolves Mount Rushmore, I believe you have to have played a decent amount of years. I would say 5, 6 is probably the area. So that kind of excludes Tom Glugiatis 3 and Sam Cassell's 2 and Jimmy Butler's 1.5 and
Jerk Butler.
Latrell Sprewell's 2. Like it's tough to include them as the greatest Wolves ever to me if you didn't even play more than 3 years with the Wolves. So my Wolves Mount Rushmore, obviously Kevin Garnett. Obviously it's the first one. The second one for me.
I can see the number.
What's that?
There you go.
Karl Anthony Towns would be the second one. It's kind of surprising to people that Karl Anthony Towns is already in the top 3 Wolves history. The points, rebounds.
He can never overtake KG though. Never. It's just like
phenomenal.
How many years is never take over for Jordan.
Did you seriously just put a limit on a 24-year-old kid who's already in the top 3 in Wolves franchise history for points, rebounds, and blocks? I think it's still too early to limit that.
You know why he won't overtake KG? Because he won't be there long enough to.
Well, let's let it play out and see. Stop pooping on people's hopes. And then so I have KG, Cat, Sam Mitchell. Can I run through history? Let's jog down history here. Jog a little bit down memory lane. He is top 5 in rebounds. He is top 5 in steals. Top 10 blocks. The 4th leading scorer in the history of the Timberwolves. After Kevin Garnett, when it comes to Wolves basketball players, Sam Mitchell is probably the second Mr. Timberwolf. So that's my third. The 4th spot is kind of tough. You kind of juggle it. Wally Zerbiak. Hey, can't really go wrong there.
Maybe Ricky. Ricky.
Ricky
Does he lead the Wolves in all-time assists?
No. Okay.
Ricky, what do you think? Who's going to be his 4th?
Ricky is second all-time assist. You know who's first all-time in Wolves assists? By
Would it be
1,200? KG. KG's
Wow.
That's actually a good note. I like that.
That's surprising.
But,
That's a little
so I
surprising.
got KG,
That's why Cat will never take him over.
KG, Cat, Sam Mitchell, and
Sorry,
I go
I gotta
with
eat my
Kevin
fries.
Love. I go with Kevin Love.
Yeah.
Because between when you look at him and Wiggins, and I love Tony Campbell, but come on, I mean Tony Campbell scoring 23 points for a terrible team. He was only here for 4 years, by the way. I have to go with Kevin Love as the 4th guy with his double doubles. So that's my 4.
How long was Al Jefferson here?
Ooh, I would give it 3 to 4 years. I can give you that answer. Do you know he's 5th all time in blocks, right behind Rasho Nesterovic? He was here. Al Jefferson was here for 3 seasons.
He was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. That works in your criteria.
Yeah.
All right.
I think obviously we know who's number 1. Let's see the jersey again. That's actually a dope jersey. I like that one. I like the Prince one too. You know, the purple
Yeah,
one. Did you?
those are smooth.
Yeah, those are pretty dope. And the black jersey is my favorite.
Oh, you sure with the
I
trees?
actually have an Al Jefferson jersey, a black jersey. I don't know
Those are
what I
cool.
did with it, but I think I gave it to my brother. Anyway, my first is obviously KG. Number two, actually, I'm not ranking them. I just have a Mount Rushmore.
All right.
I'm not having a minimum seasons. I just think of impact. And that's why I have Sam Cassell on there, because I think he was so impactful on that team that made the conference finals. And I think that team was good enough I think they had the best record in the Western Conference.
Yeah, they had home court.
Right? And I think that team was good enough to get to the finals. And
That was KG's MVP season, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and win a championship. And I think he was second best player on that team. You know, Latrell, some people could argue, but I think Sam and the impact that he had with the Rockets later winning a championship, man, you know, that's my guy.
Do you think the Wolves would have, real quick, do you think the Wolves would have had a chance to head back to the conference finals and like make a little bit longer of a run if they would have given Spree his money?
Yeah,
I
actually do. You got to keep that team together. I think that, you know, one guy doesn't make a team, but I think that the way that team was constructed, he gave him that edge. He gave him that scorer at that position where, you know, I mean, if you look across the league, you know, you kind of needed a player like him, you know, and I don't know. I wasn't here at that time. I was a big Wolves fan because of KG, and I liked, like I said, Cassell. If you look down my list, I don't think – did you mention Kevin Love, RJ?
Yeah, he had Kevin Love as
he was my fourth. You know,
so Kevin Love and Cat are my next two.
You had mentioned Latrell Sprewell. He never played again after he was here.
Right.
You know, and he was fading hard at the end of his career there. His shooting percentage was down. He was averaging 11 a game. You know, he was fading hard.
He was just trying to feed his kids.
Rob, you're a Lakers guy. I mean, I grew up in Hawaii and in the Bay Area, and I Golden State was my team. I mean, Sprewell with the Warriors. And you talk about Slam Magazine. I think he was one of the first guys to get on the cover a few times. And
did he choke out PJ in Golden State, or was that in that was in Golden State, right? Where he choked out PJ? Yeah.
Yep.
And that got shipped to New York.
Yep. But yeah, Kevin Love and Cat are my next two. So KG, Cassell, Kevin Love, and Cat. And you know, Kevin Love, arguably he was the best power forward in the game in his best years with the Wolves, and he's never been that player again. And you know, if he kept on that trajectory with the Cleveland Cavaliers, who knows where he would have gone as far as all-time greats at that position. But I just think that they just didn't use him right in Cleveland. I mean, you talked about the way he changed his body, Rob, when he was with the Wolves.
He was a tubby dude.
And he just, you know, I just think that for some reason it just didn't work. You know, LeBron's a guy that shares the ball, but they just had him in a different spot than he was with the Wolves. You know, I think they let him play a little bit more on the perimeter, you know, with the Wolves, kind of play his entire game inside and out. But
he's still in your top. He's still in your Mount Rushmore. He's still making the top four.
Well, no, but the thing is, like, if you look at Cat's numbers,
I'm not mad at it. I think Kevin Love is, I think, more deserving than Karl Anthony Towns. I think Karl Anthony Towns, you guys are crowning him. He hasn't done anything yet.
Well, no, I didn't rank him, and that's why I'm saying I don't think, you know, he's putting up the numbers now, but so did Love, you know, and I think that you can't say because he's putting up these numbers now that he's going to overtake KG, because I just don't think. I think KG's impact on this franchise, he was the first one to take it to new heights, you know, and 8 straight playoff series, makes it to the conference finals. I mean, I hope and dream that the Wolves get there.
He's the only one, pardon the pun, set in stone.
I don't see him taking the Wolves there, you know. One thing.
Love could not stay healthy here. And, for me, that's why – like, he barely makes my list. Like, I honestly, the fourth guy's not easy. Kevin Love was played here 6 years, technically, but he was injured for parts of those years a lot. You have, you know, a guy that I would probably be the next most deserving that doesn't get talked about is Wally Szczerbiak. Wally was a very steady wolf. He was steady wolf.
Very steady wolf.
Sounds weird. But, like, yes, he made an all-star game or two. He was, like, would he be most people's greatest? No, but we're talking about the Timberwolves here. Like,
Yeah.
he had a good career for the Timberwolves, and he was good here. And, like, Andrew Wiggins has to be talked about. Did he fulfill his potential here? No, but that's how we're –
If you're going to talk about Andrew Wiggins.
No, dude,
Yeah,
people got to realize, like, I know that he didn't fulfill his potential. Okay, when you get over that dude is the second leading scorer in the history of the
Well, I understand that, but
Yeah.
you know more than anybody because you've always said it in the past that a lot of it was because of this guy getting him the ball where he could score.
It's true.
And you know what? How many
Which-
times did Rubio finish in the top 5 in the NBA in assists?
A lot. And
A
that's
lot.
why when we get to our Mount Rushmore of Wolves favorites, he's my first one.
Yeah, fave for
I
us. Okay.
guarantee you that.
All right,
Okay,
well,
so
well,
How
then,
much
I
you
gotta-
want for this, RJ? How much you want for it? It's signed.
but we
Is it really?
No.
Oh, snap. You can put that in a box. Hang
my
it up.
son would break that thing so fast.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Rob, I
so-
didn't. Did you want to mention your Wolves? I didn't.
Oh, my 4. Yeah, because I nailed my 4. So my Mount Rushmore from the Timberwolves: KG, Sam Mitchell, Steph, and Flip. Flip's my 4th. He's not a player, but you don't have a Timberwolves franchise.
And
as
that
it
is
exists
where
without Flip.
Hardwood Robert
win.
Nelson wins.
I
That
thought,
was
yeah.
such a good answer. I didn't think of it. It was so good an answer. Marcus walked off on it. Like
Yeah, he walked out on it.
He was expecting Rob to drop the mic
Yeah.
and leave because it was Flip Saunders. Yes, Flip Saunders is Mr. Timberwolf as much as
Yeah,
Kevin.
if you're going with influential figures,
And I
obviously
almost put
we're talking
McHale
about players.
there instead because McHale really had a heavy hand, but I also didn't agree with most of Kevin McHale's tenure. So
I don't think most anybody has agreed with anything.
No, yeah.
Kevin
let me kick my fave 4. Let me start off our favorite 4
Yes.
Wolves. All right. So I'm going to give you Ricky. Ricky's my guy, number 1. I've also got Spree on my list because when he came over after choking out, after having choked out PJ and then run with the Knicks, who were for a long time, my second favorite team in the league. And those Knicks teams were exciting with Larry Johnson and Allen Houston. Those were great teams. I was a super big Spree fan. And the shoes with the wheels and the shoes.
Oh,
Come
yeah.
on, Spreewell.
Hey, people forget how athletic he
Horrible.
was, though.
Yeah,
Those
Spreewell
shoes were horrible.
Spreewell was
Come
amazing.
on, man.
Oh, they were terrible. They're worse than the Starberry.
Then I've got the Rhino Craig Smith, who is maybe one of my
Craig Smith.
all-time
Right.
period.
College.
That dude,
Yeah, he was here for the regional.
he looked like he had no
Villanova?
business being on a basketball court most of the time. But I also felt like I identified with him as a player. Like that was my game. You know what I mean? You couldn't probably slide a piece of paper under me when I got off the ground. You know what I mean? Couldn't jump high, couldn't do a lot, but man, he was a lot of heart. And he could play. He had a little bit of game. And finally, Jimmy
Nice.
Butler. Jimmy Butler took us to the playoffs. Jimmy Butler,
Jimmy Butler's a joke.
the practice where he dominated.
I
You
gotta
need me,
say,
Scott. You need me, Scott. I
I gotta
that.
say when
I love it.
he did take the team to the playoffs at that time, okay, I did love him, but the way he left,
nothing.
the way he left, I just
He set this franchise back. That decision to bring him in, that Jimmy Butler, hell no.
no, it wasn't Jimmy Butler.
It wasn't
You know
Jimmy.
who it was.
He was part of. Well, Thibodeau set it back, but he was a part of the deal. Yes, Tom Thibodeau is the worst mistake the Wolves have ever made. But in recent history, I'm sure there's a lot more.
Yeah.
So anyway, favorite Timberwolves. This is so fun. Okay, I mentioned all those old Wolves. Like when I would wake up, and when I was a kid, we got to start Tribune when I was a kid. I'd go see how many points per game how many points Tony Campbell scored in that game. Obviously, we didn't get the games on TV, so you'd have to read the newspaper to see what it was. I had a door-sized Tony Campbell poster.
That's
Remember
awesome.
the door-sized posters? I had 4, and 2 of them were Jordan, and 1 of them was Tony Campbell. So Tony Campbell, I rooted for Tony Campbell. It was fun to watch him play.
What was the fourth? What was the fourth door poster?
It was Scottie Pippen.
Oh, that's sick. All right.
Yep.
I forgot Tony Campbell. Was he a point guard?
He was a wing, and he averaged
Okay.
23 a game, and then they traded him to like the Knicks or something, and he averaged like 4. It was ridiculous. But I you know what? When I was young, I cheered for Tony Campbell. And you said no family members on these, so I'll exclude that. I'm also going to exclude some of the Gopher guys too for that. So I'll say Tony Campbell, Ricky Rubio, of course. I loved watching Ricky play. I loved watching him create for others. That's
He agrees. I'm trying to nod his head. He
mesmerizing.
agrees. Looked like he was having a seizure.
I did a little bit.
What's wrong with you, Ricky? I think this is a pretty obviously this is pretty old, so he's falling apart here. I think his head's fallen off a few times.
You know, You completely like freaked me out, and I'm so thankful for that. Stephon Marbury is another one for me. I got to watch 3 Wolves practices. I remember like they would come to Williams Arena, and some of the plays that he made absolutely mesmerized me. Some of the passes, like you know what's funny in those 3 practices, Kevin Garnett tried to fight Tom Hammonds once and Sam Mitchell the other. I will never forget. If you remember Tom Hammonds,
Matt Mitchell.
yes,
He's not going to win that one.
Sam Mitchell. Sam wouldn't stop running his mouth, and Kevin Garnett got pissed. These are like 2 of those practices. They were at Williams Arena because there was a playoffs. They were practicing this hard during the playoffs.
That's
so
awesome.
like Tom Hammonds is standing there. If you remember Tom Hammonds, he was like on a
No, I don't.
complete built out of stone. That dude was a monster. And like they all just stood there as Tom Hammonds stood there ready to go, and everybody went to hold KG back. Because he was just like acting like a damn fool, and they knew they could trust Tom Hammonds to act like a normal human being, but they all had to hold KG back because it's the playoffs, and you shouldn't be acting like an idiot right now because
we need a last dance for the Timberwolves playoff run.
What's that?
We need a last dance for that Timberwolves playoff
for the
run.
one Timberwolves playoff run.
Yeah, we do.
That's Tom Hammonds.
Yeah, it's Tom Hammonds. That dude.
Man, he's a beast. Look at him.
Yeah, that's not a dude I would scratch.
He's got like David Robinson arms.
Yeah, he's cut up.
So yeah,
I gotta show you. I gotta show you what I've been working on. Or not really. Rob,
Oh,
you're
look.
the one that's been working out, not me.
There's Tom Hammonds right there.
Oh, you don't want to
Yeah.
mess with him.
KG was making a mistake.
that dude was an absolute beast. But you know, that was for me. It was Tony Campbell. It was Ricky Rubio. It was Stephon Marbury, and like Sam Jacobson would have been my other, just because you're watching and you're cheering for your family member.
How long did he play for the Wolves?
1 year. Sam's best years NBA games were with the Golden State Warriors.
Not the Lakers.
He didn't really play much for the Lakers. That's when they had Del Harris as the coach, and they brought in a ton of veterans, including Glenn Rice. And they weren't about they drafted 3 rookies. It was Toby Bailey, Ruben Patterson,
Toby Bailey, UCLA, right?
And Sam.
Yeah.
And all 3 of them were gone within a matter of no time because
That's
they
weird. Toby Bailey and Sam were like the same position. Like what?
So was Ruben Patterson.
Yeah.
You know, and Toby was on the Suns rapidly. Ruben Patterson was out of the league rapidly, and Sam was on the Golden State Warriors rapidly. So anyway, there you go.
Well, I have to, like I said, make it more recent because I didn't grow up with the Wolves. But I have to say that people that I didn't cover, I'm going to go Richard Coffey. I know I'm going to say it because of the time I spent with the family in Amir. Richard was awesome, and he's part of that original team. Sam Mitchell, Pooh Richardson. How could you not bring up Pooh Richardson, man?
Pooh Richardson, yeah.
I said it earlier.
Just for the name alone. Did you say Pooh Richardson?
I did.
Well, he's talking about the first rosters, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, for sure, Stephon Marbury. He, to me.
Wait a minute. So KG's not on your list for either. For nobody picked KG as their favorite.
Rob, you got to understand. That guy was the biggest prick to everybody that was around. Like he was mean to to ticket people that were working in the office. Like nobody liked him. Like there has never been a good player who that set the franchise back when he left. That people were more excited that left. Like everyone's like, hooray! We don't have to deal with this jackass every day anymore.
Nobody likes cheering for the bad guy. I like cheering for the bad guy.
KG is my.
He no longer works for TNT as well. It's just
everybody
let him go. Huh? They did.
Everybody
let him go.
Loves KG as a player.
Nobody likes him as a human.
Yeah. So obviously he's he is everyone's favorite Wolves player. Okay. So I just decided not to mention him.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't put him on my list just because of the Celtic
But
thing.
Stephon Marbury, you know, just coming out of high school.
Coney Island kid.
We were around the same age, so I played in the same Las Vegas tournament with him. And so I got to see him play for Lincoln. And he was one of those guys for the first time, like in person. You know, it was back then we didn't have YouTube and all this other stuff. You know, you hear about them like their legend. You know, I know Hoop Scoop used to subscribe to that, right?
Hoop Scoop.
So you see the top players. Scoop. You saw that list. I saw your list. You're posting them on Twitter of the top players.
Yeah, those are from like Athlon and Street and Smiths back in the day. I don't know where they came from, but they had them,
yeah. Yeah, one of those. So they had Stephon Marbury, you know, the top player in the country coming out of high school. So when he went to college, I'm like, oh, man, this guy is the next great thing. goes to Georgia Tech. You know, when I saw him in the NBA, I thought for sure that tandem with KG, you know, was the next biggest thing. I know they're on the cover of Slam, but I just always identified with Stephon just because I had seen him play, and you know, he's just, for me, like, that was back then. I think Stephon, AI, you know, the guards that have the ball handling ability, you know,
That
they
was
could
tough.
dunk, they could shoot, they could score.
Kicked off
That was
and one. He was an original and like maybe the original and one guy. Like,
Yeah,
was
he
there
did. He started
another?
and one for sure.
Like that was
Yeah, that was before
like
they did. That's before they did the Street
super.
Ballers.
Right, right. And one was super on fire though, like at that time, and he was at the forefront of that.
But he was before his time, I thought, because I think if he was more in this era, when they allowed the point guards to score and shoot as much as they do now.
I'd like to see Ryan watch a bunch of Marbury in China games and break those down.
Did you
I
see
think
that
that'd be
documentary?
interesting to see.
I have not.
I
I
haven't
really,
either.
I loved watching Steph. The most disappointing thing ever is that him and KG couldn't work together.
No doubt.
It sucked, and that's what makes. It's just another reason why KG is the greatest and the worst as a part of that franchise. It's just like everyone's like, we need to retire his jersey. I'm like, dude, he's a prick. I don't care. Like, whatever. When he can finally act like a normal human and come up here and do it, then good.
Man, I hope KG doesn't watch our show. I really hate to see him come after you.
He'd probably come after me. He's
He
not.
probably would.
So he'd have that yellow Hummer flying up into my driveway.
He wants nothing to do with the Wolves right now. So in Minnesota.
No, yeah, he's
And
not
that's
coming around
fine
here.
because most of the people when he left wanted nothing to do with him.
No, he needs to get his jersey retired. That's for
He really
sure.
should. It's absurd that it's not in the Raptors. Okay,